Hello and welcome back to Miss Kiwi's Place. As you can see, I have my leather sewing machine. Some people call it a leather patcher. Some people call it a Chinese sewing machine. Some call it a manual sewing machine. Whichever one you use, today we are going to talk about it. So on today's episode of Miss Kiwi's Place, this video is going to be about loose threads, top thread breaking, bobbin thread bunching and tangling. We're also going to talk about how to adjust your machine to deal with it's almost like a rubbing or a metal scraping sound that the machine makes when you are trying to turn and it gets like stuck and it's hard to turn it. You can't get it through your leather, you can't get it to operate, and you know this machine should be able to go through several layers of pretty thick, decent sized leather, and it can't even make it through the smallest piece. So, and then when it's making it through the small pieces, it doesn't look great, or it's bunching, or it's getting stuck, or you're breaking a lot of leather needles. There are a few adjustments I had to make to this machine. I thought that it would come out of the box ready to use. This is actually my second one. The first one I had this screw right here that your bobbin goes in, the casing where your bobbin goes in. I could not get it open. I tried every tool I had at home and it was not working. So I had to send it back and get a new one. So in today's video, we are going to talk about all of that and go over some adjustments you can do in order to get your machine to work and to get everything started. So let's get going. So as you can see, I have my machine all out the box, all set up. I have my own little, wooden setup that I did. It's not glamorous and it doesn't look the best, but it gets the job done and I'm able to work with it because the legs that came with the machine were atrocious and they were short, and I'm kind of tall, so I wanted to be up higher off the floor, be able to sit in a pretty decent comfortable chair and be able to do my work. So first, I want to show you kind of what I was talking about with the thread. As you can see, I had a lot of long loose threads. So when I sewed through it, this is how the bottom would come out every time. It didn't matter which side I sewed it on. Those threads would be wild and crazy, and this is what they looked like. So let me show you a few things before I get to explaining how I fixed the issues that I had. First, I want to start with the racking noise. Just one moment. Hopefully my heater isn't too loud. I'm going to try to talk a little louder so hopefully you can hear everything and you get all the instructions. Okay, so when I used to turn this, and you see how it gets, when it gets to the 12, it kind of stops itself a little bit. Before, it would make a loud rubbing sound, and it was like metal on metal. So in order to fix that, what I did was took this screw off. Well, in order to get this screw off, you're going to need to take this off. And of course, you know, the lug nut is under here, and you would take that off. There was a washer that was sitting under here. Also, to take this bar off, you are going to need to, I'm going to bring the camera closer. There is a screw in here. Oh, now you can see it. There is a screw in here. And in order to take that, to take this arm off, you need to take this screw out. Another thing I learned that I needed to do was to adjust my needle. And when you send this down and you put your needle all the way down and you put your hand under here, can you feel your needle? When it's in the down position, it's all the way down as far as you can get it. Do you feel your needle? Because when I first used to try to work with this machine, I could feel the needle through here. Like, not just a little bit. I could feel that needle good, and I poked myself a time or two. So, in order to change that, you will need to adjust your needle, and you adjust the needle by here. Now, when I took this off, it scared me. I'm not gonna lie. It scared me because this thing, once I took the screw out of here, it let down like it was a spring or air pressure in there. And I didn't see a spring fall out, so I thought I had broke it. Or that it popped out somewhere and I didn't see it. It's totally fine. You don't break anything. I didn't break it. It wasn't broken. It was just really tight from coming from the factory, for one. And another thing I want to show you is this is not an ordinary looking screw. So you just take this out. Oh, I'm not showing you. You just take it out. It's not an ordinary looking screw at all. Or at least not to me. I deal with screws, but wasn't familiar with this type of screw. And when you take the arm off, this is how the needle falls and adjusts. This part right here. So when you take this screw out and you take the lug nut off of here and you take the lug nut off of here, this is how you adjust your needle to make sure that it's not going down too far in here, because if it's going down too far in here, that could be a problem. So if you can see in there, not sure if you can. Okay, this is what I'm trying to show. This right here, it had a washer here, and if you kind of, I'm not sure you can see in it. Let me see. I'm gonna get better at adjusting. Okay, if you see, I took the washer from the front because I didn't have any washers around the house. I took the washer from the front of here that was in between here, and I put it right here to stop that awful rubbing and racking sound that it was making. And that noise and the hesitation that it caused my machine to make really worried me. And I was like, every video I had ever saw, no one else's machine made that type of noise. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. I'm gonna get better at doing this camera work one day. Okay, let's see. Now that we have went over how to fix the noise that it was making, the next thing I would suggest is making sure that you have the machine threaded correctly. As you can see here, you start with the thread. You go through this first hole here. Next, you take the thread down through here, underneath here, up, over. You want to still put it under the guides, but you want it to go over the top of the second one. Then next, you want to take it through this hole here, through this guide. Then we want to take it up, but instead of going over the machine, you actually want to have your thread go through here. So you would bring your thread up through this hole. Next, you would take it through this eye. Too close, Lisa. Through this eye here. And then it will go down this tube right here that I told you about, the needle. And your machine should have came with one of these. And it's basically just a guide wire. And that wire would go up here. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to take it back out so you can see. It will go up through here. And you would just shimmy it up the chimney. And it comes out there. Grab your wire. Grab your thread. And comes back out. Hopefully you don't drop yours. Okay. So the next thing you want to do, let me turn this out the way and lower it. You want to make sure that you thread your needle going this way. Make sure that you have your needle in correctly. Your needle, the flat part of your needle should go against. It should go against the inside. So you want to make sure that you have your needle turned the correct way. The flat side of your needle should go against the shaft. And then you want to take your thread through the front and go straight to the back. Otherwise, you'll end up with your thread wrapped around your needle. And that could cause breakage and problems as well. So you'll just lift it up and, take it through there. Okay. So the next thing I put on my machine to help with today's issues. Now, where is my machine stuck? Okay. So I'll see if I can make it make the noise. So as you can see, you want the next thing we are going to talk about is about all of the thread loosening, breakage, all of that hubbub, and how to fix it. So most videos that I have watched about this machine tell you that the problem is here in your tensioning. But I want to tell you what the problem was with my machine. So first of all, to help us with the problem that I was having with my machine, I have put this clock on my manual turner to help with just today's and just me explaining it. When you look at this wheel, it is like a clock. That's how everybody does the videos. It's a clock. You go by the hands of the time. Well, use your knob as your 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All the way. You want to start at 12. This is where my problem arose. If you go into your bobbin casing, which you see mine has some, it had a little tangle in there. Okay. This bobbin casing, when you put it, where are we at? Okay. When you put it at 12 o'clock, it should look like that. It should look like that. Do you see the back part? It's always hard to keep it at 12 because my machine doesn't naturally stay right there. Okay. If you see this back part of your bobbin, if that is not right here, the back part, let me take my bobbin out. If your casing does not sit or look this way when it's at 12 o'clock, then you're going to have problems. You are going to have problems. This is where my problem arose. My internal casing, which you'll need, like, if you got some pliers or some tweezers, I found that tweezers weren't very strong enough to get this out, but you want to just take this out. Your casing can lift right out. Even though mine's acting like it doesn't want to come out right now, they do come out. And this is why I say tweezers aren't strong enough to do this. Let me sit this down for just a moment while I get this out. That would be helpful if I had forearms, but I don't. Okay. So you want to take your bobbin casing out. They lift right out of there. It's not hard. They come right out. So you want to take this and put your knob at 12 o'clock. Once you get it at 12 o'clock, you want to take this bobbin casing and you want to set it in your machine at 12 o'clock. I apologize, I said that wrong. You want to take, okay, I said it wrong. You want to set this at 12 o'clock, but you want to set the tallest part of your bobbin casing at 3 o'clock, not at 12 o'clock. Because if you took that same clock of numbers and you put it in here, so 12 o'clock would be here, 3 o'clock would be here. And we are going to set this casing in at 3 o'clock. And sometimes it'll act like it doesn't want to go. But that's okay. Because we're going to get them down in there anyway. But you want to make sure you set it at 3 o'clock. Because if you don't set it at 3 o'clock, then when it goes to wind around to sweep the thread, it will not pick your thread up, and it will give you bunching. Okay? You want to set it in there and make sure it's at 3 o'clock. And mine looks a little off a little bit, so I'm going to adjust it some until I get it exactly how I want it. This is 12 o'clock. That's 3 o'clock. Once you get everything adjusted how you want it, and you have it at the right angle, then we're going to take the bobbin and we're going to drop it right back in there. You're going to take this and it's going to go there. Slide this around, close it back up. And when you'll know if it's fixed right or not, because when you go down, one pass should pull up your bobbin thread. So you see how mine's not coming up? That means that it's not set correctly. You should not have to pass it 3, 4, or 5 times to get your bobbin thread to come up. So if you look at it while I have the cover off, you'll see that once I got it in there, it passes the correct way. So you have to make sure that your bobbin thread and your bobbin is in there correctly, or otherwise when it passes through, it won't catch and your thread will not come up. So we're going to put it back at 12 o'clock and we're going to see if we have it lined correctly. So we're a little off from 12. So I like to make sure it's all the way correct. Now we want to go back through here and make sure that everything is right. Now, if you look in there, you see that it's now at 12 o'clock, but my bobbin is not completely in the right place. My casing is not completely in the right place. It's off just a little bit. And by it being off a little bit, it's not catching my thread. So I'm going to take my bobbin back out. And I'm going to make a slight adjustment. So that my I'm not even seeing it. Okay, I'm going to put it back in at a slight adjustment so that I know it's sitting at 3 o'clock like I want it. Because when you go to 9 o'clock, the sweeper should be over here to sweep it. So I'm going to sit my bobbin back in there and see if we have it in the right place now. Now, first I had so many problems at this machine. I did not want to take anything apart to show you. But I'm going to do it the right way. Okay, now you see it's sweeping. When it goes down to 6 o'clock, it's sweeping right there. When you go to 9, you see how it's passing the needle? That means it should grab it. So, as you see, it's twining around itself. That means that it should do it right now. So let's put the casing back on. And let's see. That's one turn. And it came right up. I'm going to do it one more time so you can see. You see how it just slightly off, just that little smidget, and that stopped my that stopped it from picking up my thread. But now that I made sure at 12 o'clock my my bobbin casing, I'm gonna show it this way so you'll be able to see what I'm saying. So at 12 o'clock, you see how my bobbin casing is. You don't want this part right here. You don't want it way over here when you at 12 o'clock. Because if the edge of it is way over here, that means you're not all the way on 3 o'clock. You more at like 1:45. We want it at 3 o'clock. I want you to think of the middle of this part, the tallest part. Think about the middle of it. The middle of this part needs to be at 3 o'clock. If you think of that way, then you can get it put in correctly. Even if you just want to, take a marker or something and mark where the middle of this is. I thought I had a pen right here, but apparently I dropped it. Okay, but you could take a marker or something and you can mark the middle if you just feel like you can't just eyeball it. But the middle needs to be at 3 o'clock. And once you have it at 3 o'clock and put your bobbin and everything in, one full turn should pull your string out every time. It should pull it out every time. It's not coming up because I have a knot right here that I need to cut off. Okay. Just one moment. Okay, so I got that little knot snipped off, but I'll show you one more time just so you'll see that part really, really, really makes a difference. It really makes a difference. I can take that out and show you again different parts. But I'm telling you, if you want to get rid of the bunching and all those other problems, make sure that your casing is in the right place. No matter how many times I do this, set it back at 12, put my screen down. Even if you see how I don't even got it on 12 all the way. One turn around. One turn. Pull on this top screen. Bottom screen should pop up every time. If it's not popping up, check and see where your bobbin casing is on, and is it put in the right place. Next thing to deal with the loose wires and stuff would be tension. And just take you a pair of ordinary wrench things, turn. For me, righty is loose, going left is tightening. So once you get all of that together, you should be able to get rid of all of the ratty threads, breaking threads. See, I can stick this under here. Lift it up. Make sure, another thing you want to do is make sure that when you're taking your projects out, that you are not pulling this way. You want to pull in this direction, but not hard. You want to gently squirt it out of there, because otherwise you'll bend your needles. And do you want broken needles? If you are going through a lot of needles, your needles are breaking, things like that, I'm just show you where I just sewed it. As you can see, it's the tight one that's across there. And you also, something that I have learned on my journey, this screw adjusts the needle length. The thread length. So, another thing, just FYI, in case you didn't know, there is a screw on the bottom right here. And this is how you adjust your thread length. This makes your thread long or short. So there you have it. This is how I solved my loose, bunching, breaking thread, breaking needles. These are the things that I did in order to adjust my leather sewing machine to be able to actually get projects done on it. Please leave questions or comments if you have any. If not, thank you for visiting Miss Kiwi's place. And until next time, enjoy life.